Space. Jail made another one.
Be mindful, have your mic off, be respectful when someone is speaking, okay? And if it is your turn to speak and someone does start to talk over you, by all means, tell them, hey, look, I'm talking. No, we can be respectful. We can support each other in the best, healthiest ways. This is an open room. I love to have open spaces where people can ask questions, they can talk and have real conversations here. We do have some special guests today that if you're new to Twitter, if you've never been on Twitter before, and you're like, hey, how do I grab a mic? How do I request a mic? You can write down in those comments that little purple pill, little bottle down there, bubble down there. just say, hey, I would like to speak, but I don't know how. And we can send you a mic so that you can come up. I see we have the Omniverse City up here with us today, who I am associated with, partnered with, growing with, and the founder of is one of the most amazing ladies I've ever met. And we are so thankful for all she has done with lots of things. Welcome to stage, the Omniverse City. We will have a special guest. If anybody has seen the tweets, and her name is She's So Brooklyn. She has an amazing story that if you might want to have one or two tissues ready, especially if you're known to have an emotional impact when people tell stories. Okay, I don't want to give away her entire story. It's not hard to find. A simple Google search. Okay, you will find out everything you need to know. But listening to her tell her story and the why behind what she's doing. Okay. Not just with the United Empowerment Party, which is an amazing organization with a very strong purpose behind it. But this week is Congenital Heart Disease Week. And for some people, it gets very personal. And for others, it will be personal by the time you get done hearing this person's story. She has a few years behind her and understanding some of her struggles after you get done hearing her story and why she's doing what she's doing. If it doesn't move you, you need to go back and watch Bambi again, right? Because if this story doesn't move you, you need to go watch Bambi so you can learn how to be moved all over again and then listen to her story again. She's an amazing lady that has done some amazing things with that, and all on her own, standing on her own, and making things happen. So I'm really looking forward to her sharing her story with you today. We will be doing lots of other amazing things. We will be announcing some things with Honeycomb and South by Southwest. We'll probably release that information towards the end of the space today. Now that the Omniverse City, I've gone through my little this is what's coming up, letting people on the Metaverse radio side around the globe that are tuning in know that we have some great things coming up. But the Omniverse City, welcome to the stage. How are you this morning? And how's it going? If you want to go ahead and tell us about yourself a little bit as we get this space open and rolling, that would be amazing. Or not. We'll wait for you. It's okay. People may be busy.
Did you ask me?
You're all good. So, Honeycomb, if you want to, just kind of share about what is your PFB up here, Seed the Change. What are the things that you're working on? Some of the things, if you want to just roll into who you are, what you do, and your association with us, and what is happening.
I'm losing service. Hold on. Let me stand over here.
No, not the service.
All right. Can you hear me all right?
I can hear you just fine.
Sorry about that. I was multitasking and got booted out of the X space. My apologies.
It happens. Welcome to the Twitter world, right? Welcome to X. Sometimes it just gives us all the boot. Sometimes it'll shut the whole space down, and sometimes it's just personal, right?
So, and if you want to let let your next guest kind of talk a little bit about it, I can go next. It's no problem.
Let's see here. Honeycomb, you still trying to grab traction here with the service? How we doing? We're still grabbing
Wi-Fi off.
There we go.
Or am I rugging? Good
Nope.
Twitter.
Good old Twitter. I hear you here, but if you don't hear us there, I also understand. It looks like it. So Omniverse City, welcome to the stage.
All
How
right.
are you
That's
this
how
morning?
great way to manage technical difficulties. So, yes, my name is Charlene Nichols. I am the founder of the Omniverse City. Short story, 7 years ago, I did the ultimate dream. I told my career of 20 years that I was going to decide after 20 years that I actually was ready to answer that question. What do I want to be when I grow up? And the answer 7 years later has finally come to me. I want to be a dream builder. I want to meet people, listen to their dreams, tell them, don't change a thing. Let's make that happen exactly the way that you just said it. And here's the best part, as a dream builder, somebody who can really leverage the tools that we're going to be talking about today through extended reality, augmented reality, and virtual reality. And let's just talk about community visualizations, imagining things together that you can build and dream. You vibrate at a frequency that transcends the world that we live in, that we all complain about. And you enter into this secret filter that puts you into a rip in time that helps you to discover and explore amazing humans. We'll talk a little bit later how that rip in time can create opportunities for you to meet people that you could never possibly imagine. This new era of serendipity. And for those of you who are listening to me and having, hearing some of these words and thinking, what on God's green earth is this woman talking about? You'll get there. For those who understand me, I love you. I'm so glad you're here. And just short stories, 7 years, dream builder, some of the things that we've built. Virtual trade shows that empowered and facilitated an entire global industry before, during, and after the pandemic. I was building virtual conferences and facilitating Web Zero noobs. If, for those of you who are still learning the the web numerical system, Web Zero is something that I affectionately use to identify a human who is still figuring out their email. I'm sure there's a more technical term out there, but when I say a Web Zero noob, that means you have not leveraged the internet at all. It manages you. Web 1, Web 2 is more, you're using the internet, you're using social media, you're native in platforms like X, you're native in platforms like LinkedIn, Instagram, you know how to manage your email. You might have even mastered Zoom. Then we have this Web 2.5. A lot of us don't really talk about it. Most of us skip that step, right to Web 10, which is after Web 3. But Web 2.5 was a layer that I discovered on my journey to try to facilitate this industry. And flash forward to today, I'm really excited to tell you that although there's a lot of industries we're talking about here, the cannabis industry, the music industry, the gaming industry, very rarely do you see medical communities and conservative and professional communities at a lot of these festivals and events. I Wear Art Walk, which we'll be talking about later, has really onboarded an entire traditional Web 0/Web 2 industry all at once into the Web 3 world that we find ourselves in. And it's an era where, if you're a medical professional, in this particular case, we're talking about eye doctors, and you're looking in people's eyeballs all day long. You're seeing the way that we evolve and change as a community, as a human species. But a lot of doctors don't realize what they're seeing in their um, diagnostic equipment and how it really connects to the digital device usage and the sedentary lifestyles and the ways that we're abusing our bodies that are not really necessarily good for us. So it's a really great opportunity for these medical professionals to understand why are these things happening so they can meet modern young audiences, like a lot of the people in this X space, where they are. And that's what this Iowa Art Walk Festival is all about. I'll kind of take a breather and pass it back to Mike. And just real quick, the Omniverse City is a fully functioning metaverse. If you go to theomniverse.city, you can create your account for free. We have done something completely unprecedented. We have made pixel streaming metaverse travel, which is seamless, interoperable, one click metaverse access, free, always on, 24/7. You don't have to do anything to get in. You just go in and explore. We will be restricting the access to 2 hours per month, starting at middle of this year. But for right now, it's free. Go in, have fun, and we'll be if you join our communities, and we can talk a little bit about that later. We'll be announcing ways that you can go in and do multiplayer exploration and go and navigate this big, huge, illustrious city with friends. Great to meet everyone.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Charlene. The Omniverse City, guys, is unbelievable. Uh, if you're new to the metaverse realm, it's a wonderful place to start. And you'll go see other places, and yeah, you'll end up coming back. She's done an amazing job, uh, aesthetically, but then also on the reason why it's built and what you're going to do with it. So absolutely unbelievable. Um, my name's Michael Camp. Honeycomb Hydro is my company. Empowering people, saving the planet with the plant is my purpose. Seed the Change is my PFP at the present. That is an empowerment event, which we call a community cultivation challenge. We're going to be introducing many new techs to some people who are on Facebook. We're being streamed there now through StreamYard and on some of these other pages, because there's lots of people that don't even have a Twitter account or navigate more than just one or two different social platforms. So the outreach of the purpose to educate and and make aware of the tech that's here, the purposes that are being pushed through it, the changes that are upon us, and what we can, how we can utilize these new techs, these new opportunities to make a difference for the highest quality of life. And pun intended. But See the Chain has 3 different grow offs that'll be going on. This event will be running until December 21st. It's all aligned with solstices and equinox, and getting to know Mother Earth and understanding why she's so pissed off, how we can make a difference, make it better, and grow some phenomenal medicine along the way. So we've got 24 different judges, 24 special guests, 24 artists focused through. We'll be playing around in a lot of scavenger hunt stuff. And the further it gets down in the year, the more developed it'll be. You'll be able to jump around multiple different metaverses and go, maybe chase the white rabbit, if that's the level of the understanding. So it's a real fun playground, but the power to edutain on it is what we're doing here. And the 2024 year is a presidential election. So I'm not about politics, used to hate it. Now I've learned I'm a full blown politician. And the UnitedEmpowermentParty.org is where you can check some things out. There's some people doing some stuff. We're helping others understand the power they have within, and the empowerment and what's possible with love. So, uh, in that, all of what we're doing and all the listeners here, you're all invited if you're not already involved. Good morning to LM Design, K-Bot Dream, Meta Mike, Havoc, Felons. She's so Brooklyn. Hashtag not Snoop. What? Skyboxy, Nifty Island. What's up, Sandy? Mrs. Lep. Pleasure to have you in here, you guys. We got a legend in the house. Well, we've got multiples, but it said Slick and Najiba. Hopefully I said it right. Good morning, Grand Rising, or good evening, depending on where you're at. But I'll drop this mic and pass it all back over to Hex.
Thank you to both of y'all. It's an honor to say the least. I love all these Saturday spots. I really love all the spots, the Tuesdays, the Wednesdays, and the Saturdays, where we get the opportunity to listen to people that are actively doing things with the purpose, right? There's lots of people inside a lot of Twitter spaces that are going to show a lot of different things from a lot of different angles. But getting to hear people that are active in the real world environment and making the impact in their personal communities is what I really enjoy. Personally, right? That's what I've been doing for the last 20 years. Okay. And I won't go super deep into it because there's so many other people here that are doing things as well. But I am an active member of my real world community. I have started 2 nonprofits. One of them has been going for the last 20 years. It feeds anywhere from 200 to 500 families every week. The other one is a new outreach that we are now in the process of building a new facility in town. We just purchased the property not too many days ago, or last year, Okay, and now we're in the process of getting the building built. It is a home insecure, okay, home insecure type facility, and these are the things that when I'm not in the Twitter, I focus on in the real world. So that said, I'm really encouraged by everybody else that is actively doing things in their real world in their real world environments, the things that make the change, right? The people that make the change. So welcome to the stage. Got a lot of things happening today. Really cool people making really great impacts. LM, Rollo, K-Bot, Dream, MetaMike, Bellin, She's So Broken, Slake, Nifty, Havoc, all those other people down there. Welcome in here. We're going to get kind of kicked off today. Okay. Excuse me. We've got our guest, and as she makes her way up here, take your time, sip your coffee, do your thing. We are going to let's go ahead and kind of kick off with what it is, right? We talk festivals, events, all those types of things in here every Saturday. Saturday's kind of like our festival event space, right? Tuesdays are Tech Talk Tuesdays. Wednesdays, Web3 Wednesdays over on the LinkedIn. If you've never joined us there, we get anywhere from 5 people to 90 people that join the spot. And then Saturdays, looks just like this. We're always broadcasting live on Metaverse Radio, wherever we go. And people on any device can say, hey, Alexa, or hey, Google, play Metaverse Radio. And from there, you will listen to the Chicago-based Metaverse Radio, right? So, hey, welcome, She's So Brooklyn, to the stage. It is a huge honor, and I am so happy you're here because you are the person making the change, right? And this week is Congenital Heart Disease Week, and I know for you, it's a personal thing, right? You have a real you can really relate, not just relate, but you have been walking this road for the past few years, and I would love for you to share the why you are doing and what you are doing now. Welcome to the stage. Welcome to the room.
Thank you. I appreciate that so much. Can you all hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, good. First of all, like I said, thank you to everyone that helped put this together. Mike, you already know we work really closely together on multiple things, but this is something that means a whole lot to me. And you're absolutely right. This is very personal for me because I celebrate, educating and bringing awareness to this specific issue every single year. And, almost 6 years ago, I would have never imagined that I would be in spaces talking about this because, I didn't know what it was. And I had no clue that this was something that was happening all over the world, let alone here in the United States. So it's very, it's an issue that most people aren't aware how prevalent it is, and that it is very, very detrimental to the quality of life of any child that is born with congenital heart disease and defects. So thank you, and I'm super honored and blessed to be here.
So you in my dive into what congenital heart disease was or is, right? I got to learn a lot of things, okay, because maybe I was spurred on, especially after our conversation, to go a little bit deeper into it. And so I started Googling things, I started doing a little bit of things. And I found out that congenital is when something that happens at birth, right? So this is something that it is a birth started thing or a birth noted thing. And so if you could, this is you said 6 years ago, right? So this is something that your daughter, right? Your daughter has this thing going on, and you've been walking this road for the past few years,
Yes.
which is, what are some of the things that you might have learned? Because it's not easy. It's not just, oh, there's a disorder, okay, and then the doctors just know what to do.
Right.
Is that right? Like, most of them are still learning how to handle these things at the same time you are.
Right. You're absolutely right. There are specialists that know a lot more about this, and I'll get further into that, but you're absolutely right. Congenital is something that happens while you're still pregnant, pretty much in utero. So some mothers find out that there's a problem before the child is born, and some mothers don't find out until after the child is born. And in some cases, they won't know until that baby gets home and it becomes a dire situation, an emergency situation where they have to rush that child back to the hospital. Some children are rushed back to the hospital to immediately go into surgery. So for me, I was 7 months pregnant when I found out about my daughter's heart condition. So I had no idea what was going on. And just to give a few more facts and statistics about what congenital heart defects are and why the disease is so dangerous, because there's many different variations and types of congenital heart defects. You have some that are called CCHDs, which stands for critical congenital heart defect. And that is what my daughter was diagnosed with. Her situation was very critical. And CHD is responsible for the mortality of more children than every pediatric cancer combined. So when you think about that statistic and that there are more children dying from this than every single pediatric cancer combined, that is a huge issue. And there is a very large lack of research that exists to understand congenital heart disease, what the cause of it is, and it's not always genetic. A lot of times it's not genetic. I went through genetic testing and counseling, and they found that it wasn't genetic in myself or my husband. So then it takes you back to the drawing board of what happened, what could have gone wrong. Is it something that you did? As a mother, when you hear things like this, naturally your mind goes everywhere and you start to wonder if you didn't do something or you didn't do enough of something. Like all these thoughts go through your mind because all you can think of is, how did this happen to me and how did this happen to my baby? So there's that. And then you have so many children that are born without it even being detected, to where it could have been corrected with medicine or minor procedures, but because it was never addressed, it then becomes an issue later in life. There was one particular situation where a child had a hole in their heart and it could have been corrected, but they never knew. And the child had gotten some kind of virus where the virus was able to enter the hole in that child's heart and then cause heart failure, to where that child ended up needing a heart transplant. So there's so many different situations, some isolated, some more common, that people aren't aware because no one's being made aware that this is something that is common. Heart defects are one of the most common birth defects no one knows about, no one hears about. When you're pregnant, you hear about Down syndrome. You may even hear about cleft palate or spina bifida and just different ones that will sound familiar to a mom who has gone through pregnancy and that have been alerted by doctors about these specific diseases and issues that can come. But there are those that are more rare or not as prevalent that you don't hear about, because there's about 40,000 babies that are affected every year by CHD. So for me, learning about not only my child having a heart condition, I was told that on a scale of 1 to 10, the cardiologist told me that my daughter's condition was about a 9. So that I couldn't, I felt like someone sucked all the air out of the room, because that's literally what it felt like. Like hyperventilation is not even in comparison to what I felt at the moment. And it just felt like everything just completely like went away. Like I was in a dark room and someone was giving me the worst possible news I can even think of, because all I kept saying to myself was, what's next? And my daughter was diagnosed with hypoplastic left heart syndrome, or HLHS. And what that means is that the left side of the heart did not fully develop, and it also means that the body is not going to get enough oxygenated blood throughout the body, which could cause other issues and conditions as well. And some children that are born with HLHS may have other issues. And thank God, my daughter, that was the only issue she had, but it was still a very severe one because on top of HLHS, she had what they call mitral valve atresia, and then she also had ASD. And so the left side of your heart is very important to making sure that the body receives oxygenated blood to every organ in the body. If your organs are not getting sufficient blood supply that is oxygenated, things begin to die. So that child could end up having issues with, their liver, their kidney. Like there's so many different things that can happen as a result of that particular heart defect. There's also others called like grand transposition of the arteries, tetralogy of Fallot or TOF. And you can Google these things just to learn more about different issues that can come up within the structure of the heart because of it not developing properly in the early stages of pregnancy. So for me, I Googled everything, and unfortunately, that's not good for a mom, according to doctors, because after the fact, they told me, okay, mom, don't Google anything because you're going to scare yourself half to death. And that's exactly what I did. So, but at the same time, I was glad that I did because I had to educate myself. I felt like I went to medical school because there were terms that I had never heard. There was medical information that I was receiving that I didn't even understand because I had never heard of this disease. So I'm already in the cannabis industry at that point. So in my mind, I was saying to myself, I also need to understand how this plant could potentially help my child because I know for a fact she's going to go through this process. I was told she would need 3 open heart surgeries before she turned 4 years old. The first, she was 3 days old. So she was a newborn when she received her first heart surgery. And you're talking about reconstructive heart surgery where they had to literally uh, make a way for my daughter for her heart to operate as is. And that's basically what they call a palliative process. So it doesn't cure it, but it allows that child to live as long as possible with their heart being defective. So understanding and knowing that she was going to go through that and that there was going to be a long recovery process and that I was going to have to do everything in my power to keep her healthy and to monitor her. I had to weigh her every day. I had to go home with a pulse oximeter, which is a device that measures the oxygen saturation level, or what they call an O2 sat. So it had to be above 85 at all times. If it dropped below 85, I was going to the hospital with her, which thank God it didn't at that time. And then I also had to give her multiple medications that would be lethal to any one of us here because we're healthy. So imagine being told by a doctor that you have to give your child medication that would kill you, but it saves her. So it was very emotionally and mentally, it was a lot to process and a lot to deal with. And I just had to keep educating myself. I had to keep asking questions because I still couldn't quite process what was going on. And then fast forward to the second stage surgery that she was supposed to have at 5 months old. And they tell me my daughter's in early heart failure. So they could not do the second surgery because they told me if they went through with the surgery that she would possibly die on the table. And so I had to prepare myself for something that I would have never imagined, and that is having to have my child listed for a heart transplant and then not knowing how long I would wait for that organ because it could take 2 weeks, it could take 2 months, 6 months, it could take a whole entire year. or longer. But for Kanza, she could not wait outside of the hospital. So she was listed as what they call a status 1A. So a status 1A on a transplant list, regardless of what organ you're receiving, means that you are the highest priority on that list. Any child or even adult listed as a status 1A means that they cannot survive outside of the hospital without medications or some kind of medical intervention keeping them stable as they wait for that organ. So for Kansa, she had to wait in the hospital and she had to take multiple medications, multiple diuretics because that was the first indication of her heart failure. So she had swollen limbs, her face was very swollen, and I had noticed she was much heavier than normal and did not realize she had an extra maybe 3 to 4 pounds of of water weight that we didn't even understand what was happening at the time. And so going through the listing process, she was listed on September 11th of 2018. And 13 days later, her heart completely failed. And she clinically died multiple times. I received a phone call at about 9 or so that night on September 24th. And they told me that coded. And can you guys hear me? I just want to make sure.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
You have us locked on attention.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure because when you have headphones on, it can go either way. So they told me that she coded, and my heart dropped because when I heard the phone ring, I got excited when I saw the hospital calling because I thought they were calling saying that she got a heart. And the scariest thing you could ever hear someone tell you is that your child actually died because that's what that means. So I was only about 7 minutes away from the hospital. Big shout out and love to the Yellow Door Foundation. They are a foundation that housed me and my family. At the time, it was just me because I have other children, and my husband had to make sure they went to school 3 hours away, uh, dealing with everything with my daughter. And so I was 7 minutes away from the hospital in an apartment that the foundation had put me in so that we could wait closer to her because once a child is listed for a transplant, um, they cannot be around anyone. You cannot be around anyone else. You can't be in any communal environments because you are at risk of getting sick or getting something and giving it to your child. And if your child gets extremely sick while they are waiting for a transplant, they have to take them off of the list until they get better. So I was in a private room. She couldn't be around anyone. People had to gown up from head to toe, including myself and my family, just to go in and out of her room. So when they called me, that was the last thing I was expecting. I had just left her 2 hours before, and she was fine. And I remember when I left that night, something kept telling me that something was wrong, and she was trying to tell me something because a lady came by, and I always say that, God has such a unique and special way of communicating with us through other people and through other means. And this woman volunteers at the hospital to play music for the children, and she plays the harp, which is such a beautiful instrument. And she asked me, she could not come in the room because of the circumstances. And she said, "Do you mind if I play for her?" And I said, "Of course, absolutely." And she played for her, and I was holding her in my arms because I had to sit in a specific chair just to hold her because of all the things that was connected to her. And I remember her looking at me, and she just squeezed my arm, and I remember looking at her trying to figure out what she was trying to say because it was a look that I had never seen before. and she could have been in pain. It could have been anything, and she just couldn't tell me, but I felt something, and I couldn't understand at the time what it was. And sure enough, 2 hours later, I was getting a call that she coded. And they told me to get to the hospital as soon as possible because they were worried and they had never seen her that sick before. So I rushed back to the hospital and I'm walking through the PICU and it's empty. I see no doctors, I see no nurses, and I'm walking and all of them are in my daughter's room. The nurse practitioner, all of the nurses that had taken care of her, even from her first surgery, all the doctors were there, and I just saw bright lights. And then I saw the chaplain, and the chaplain scared me because I didn't know what to expect at that point because it was about 10 minutes of not knowing on the way to the hospital and then getting there, and anything could have happened in between that time. And it did because she did code again while I was not there. And then she coded again while I was there. And so I watched my daughter like stop breathing, heart not beating. And when her heart was beating, when they were able to bring her back, her heart rate was almost 200 BPMs. Like it was insane. Like her heart was beating so fast, and I'm looking at her like she was fighting. She was fighting with everything in her to just stay alive. And so the doctor, and I was praying the entire time, and the doctor saw me and she said, I want you to stand up here and I want you to hold her hand and I want you to talk to her. And I just kept talking to her. And I remember leaning over and just speaking life into her ears. And I'm praying and I'm just literally speaking like the life over her and just telling her that like God has brought you this far in your life, and with even with everything that she's gone through, I felt like this isn't it for her, and she has a purpose for being here. And she could, even though she couldn't respond to me and she couldn't hear me, I knew she knew that I was there. So I kept talking to her because one thing, if I can tell anybody anything, is that understand how powerful your words are and understand that when no matter what a situation looks like, it's always what we do in the situation and how we handle it, how we react to it. And in that situation, that's not an easy situation for anybody to even think for a second, this is what I need to do. But I knew that's what I had to do. And if anyone has ever, I always say to feel the presence of God in the room, nothing in this world could ever convince me that everything stands still. When I tell you, I felt like nothing was moving in that room. It was such a stillness and a peace, even in all that chaos. I felt a peace that I have never ever felt or experienced in my entire life. And I knew what I had to do in that moment. And so after she coded that last time, they were able to bring her back with a strong pulse, which the doctors were completely baffled because they were saying to me, normally by that third time that she coded, they normally will call it. But all the doctors there kept saying, I don't care what you do, we're going to get her through this. And they kept looking at each other and they just gave each other this look like, we're not going to stop until we can get her where she needs to be. And thank God that they did that because after that fourth time that she coded, they were able to bring her back and stabilize her to prepare her for life support, which is the ECMO machine that I had to sign consent for because as great as the ECMO machine is as being an interim, a temporary solution before a child can be transplanted, it's also very dangerous the longer they stay on it because they can get brain damage, they can stroke out, they can have a heart attack. Like all the worst things that you can think of can happen even while they're on that machine. So understanding the risk, I still wouldn't say no. And I said, okay, whatever we have to do to keep her here. And I remember signing the consent forms, and not even like seconds later, I heard the phone ring. And when the phone rang, it was after midnight. It had to be close to 2 o'clock in the morning. I was exhausted. I was not thinking anything when the phone rang until I heard them yelling for Dr. Lee, who is the amazing doctor that ran the codes and coordinated everything while Kanza was going through that process. And Dr. LaCure is her transplant cardiologist. And I remember them saying his name, and it didn't dawn on me until Dr. Lee came running around the corner, and she ran up to me and she grabbed both my hands and she said, "Mom, we have a heart for Kanza." And I completely lost it. And I could not even gather myself. All I remember doing was crying and hugging her and telling her I was sorry for crying all over her, because who knows, like, it was just so much like emotions that happened in that moment. And she told me that it was a perfect match. Like, how does that happen when just minutes before your child was dying? So for me, that solidified my faith forever, because I was able to witness a miracle that was completely impossible. Because there are plenty of children who go through the same thing and get put on that machine and never come off, or they never receive an organ and they don't get that second chance. But my daughter did. And so it's also bittersweet because you learn about the children who don't get that chance. So sometimes you feel guilty and you don't know how to feel, because you know the moms that lost their children. You get close to them, you become a family. And that's when I knew at that moment, once all of this was said and done, that I would share her testimony everywhere I can. I would bring more awareness and education to this, and that I would be a support in any way that I can for other mothers and families going through it, because I knew what it felt like. And no one will ever understand that situation unless they're in it. So knowing that my daughter was getting a new heart, and that the same surgeon that did her first heart surgery would also be doing her transplant, and just knowing just the love and care that these doctors poured into me and my family, and the way they treated my daughter, and to have a doctor come up to you and say, "I know she's yours, but today we're treating her like she's ours, and we're going to take care of her like she is our daughter." That's a different level of care that every person should experience when they go into a hospital. So it changed my outlook and my perception of the healthcare system, because I hated hospitals and I didn't have good experiences. And I'm from New York, so at the time I was living in Virginia. So I already had this ingrained in my mind, because I didn't have the best experiences with some of the hospitals here in New York. So to get that at a hospital, and to see the way they move and operate as a unit together, and how that medical team has been the same team working together for over 20 years, it's unheard of. And it just goes to show you the power of unity and working together and what that means. And so I had a deeper level of appreciation for every nurse, every doctor, every specialist, just what they have to face and deal with every day. Kans is just one child. Imagine the hundreds and thousands of children that they have had to go through these experiences with, and try to stay detached and disconnected from the experience so that they can continue to do their job. That's a lot by itself. And I can't imagine what that does for them mentally. So, bringing all of this back full circle, my daughter will be 6 years old on February 27th of this month. And she has had zero rejection since she's been transplanted. And I am a canna mom, and I am a mother who uses cannabis for her child, and that has done so for now 4 years. And I was able to do so because I knew that cannabis, there were studies that shows how cannabis reduces the likelihood of organ rejection. And that was enough for me to make the decision to learn how to microdose my child using specific cannabinoids, which she uses CBD and CBG, because it also helps to counter the possibility of the development of cancer due to transplant medications. They're immunosuppressant anti-rejection drugs that can cause issues later on in life, that can cause cancer, that can cause damage to the central nervous system. There's so many things that I had to learn because I had to figure out what to do to make sure that my daughter had the best possible quality of life that I could give her, because she spent so much of the early part of her life just fighting for it. Imagine being born having to fight for every breath that you take and not knowing when your child could possibly take their last breath, not sleeping at night because you're waking up just to see if they're still breathing. That's a lot. And I stand here today as a mom, as an advocate, as so many things that I feel that I am for people who don't have the strength to be able to stand up and speak on these things and don't have the strength to share, because it is reliving that trauma all over again every time you have to think about it. But I know it's bigger than me. So I do so understanding that I am going to keep opening that wound, but it's so worth it, because if I can be a catalyst for change that helps other children and other moms and dads and families that go through this for any childhood disease, that is more than an honor. That is a purpose that I won't turn away from, because I know it always takes one person to just make a decision. And if you are that person that makes that decision, it doesn't matter if there's a million people behind you. All it takes is one, just one spark. And you'll be amazed at what that does and how you can move others to do something as well. Is it easy? No. Can it be frustrating at times? Absolutely. Do you feel sometimes like, I don't know if I could do this anymore? Absolutely, because you're human. And it's understanding that you are human and understanding that you will go through all those things and it's okay to feel those things, but you just don't allow them to stop you, because you have a purpose in doing that work. And the purpose is more important than anything. And that's the way I like to live my life, because no matter what, yes, we all have to live, we all have to survive, we have to take care of ourselves and our families. But if you put purpose at the forefront of everything you do, everything else will come.
I I have to regain myself. I do not know how you tell that story. And I break up hearing the story, okay? And I do have kids, and you and I have talked before about, and I watched my mother go through her own struggle with one of my sisters, or I guess two of my sisters, but one she walked that medical road with and has been, and just and it's like you said, there's some things you said, and I'm going to bring them back, but the emotional roller coaster that you go through where you're excited that your child is getting the care, but and it's odd, I'm going to use the word odd, but I understand it, the at the same time that you're feeling joy for your own child, you're remembering, or you know for a fact that while your child is getting this care, there's another child that's not, and how and walking through that, and I feel like you picking up this mantle, this purpose of speaking this story, because you can relate. Even though your child did get care, you can still comfort those and be and understand the emotional pain that the mothers that are going through that, or the fathers that are the families, because you have other children that, while you're dealing with this, so were they. They're walking this road too, and being able to say, not just we understand, but here's some avenues in which you can go and do these things. I yeah. Wow. That is it is a very emotional story. And I'm very glad that you do share it, and that you're so voiced about it. And so I'm going to lead into this, but this is how you got started with the UEP, the United Empowerment Party. This is part of your purpose for driving this initiative. And as Honeycomb or Michael said earlier, he wasn't planning on being political, and I don't think you were either. You were just wanting to be a mother and do things, just the normal life. But now you're in this position to carry this message, and you started this mission, right? And I'm going to call it a mission because there's, outside of just this one thing, right? Beyond just the congenital heart disorder, there are so many other people that could benefit by utilizing this plant, the cannabis plant. And so that's where you really picked up this purpose, and driving that change, right? To get it off of what it is, to get it descheduled, right? And get those votes to make that impact. I will open the floor for those of you two that are up here, if you wanted to carry on. And really, Honeycomb, if you want to jump in here. um I'm still emotional, okay? I do have kids. I've got 5 kids, and the whole time the story's going on, I'm looking at my kids. So I'm sorry if my thoughts cannot be conveyed properly. You really caught me off guard here. I knew this was going to be an impactful story. I'm sorry if I'm not doing the great job of hosting right now. You got me, okay?
It happens. It happens.
Hey, yes, I was just gonna say it's not fair because I've been blessed to be working with Sephida and the United Empowerment Party for about 6 months now, very heavily, and I know the story at a level, and I'm over here crying. So it's just like you said, it's the way it's told, it's what it's about, and then the purpose within it. It didn't stop, And if you guys are not familiar with United Empowerment Party, check it out. Follow Sephida, follow the other people in the room. You guys, you know the role, how to go and do that. But Sephida, your purpose didn't stop. The mission didn't stop. You found some power with the plant, and then what? What was next for you?
For me, what was next for me was definitely unexpected because, as you said, I hated politics. That's just, I did not want to get involved with politics ever. I never woke up one day and say, hey, I want to get into politics. I want to be a politician. Never, because I never liked the, as we call it, politricks. I didn't like the pandering every election and the broken promises and the we're going to make things better, the people coming in and leaving richer than they were when they started because of backdoor deals and things that negatively impact the people and communities, but because of profit, people's lives don't matter. And that would make me really frustrated with the way things were. And I'm a very solutions based person. So I had to chin check myself, as I always say, and say, okay, you can talk about these things, you can complain, you can say you don't like the way things are, but until you do something about it, you're just like everybody else. complaining about it and doing nothing, or sitting on your hands and watching it all go down, but not putting yourself in a position to make the change. So for me, I got a dose of my own reality and said, the only way that this is going to change is when good people with good intentions and purpose get together and they do something about it. Or even if just one person says, okay, that's it, I got to do something about it. And that's how the United Empowerment Party came about January 26th of 2021. We were the National Cannabis Party at that particular time when me and my brother started it with a other small group of people that started with us, and they were telling us this will never happen. That no one's going, like, you're not going to get a registered political party that focused specifically on cannabis policy and legislation. And we did. And we changed to United Empowerment Party back in 2022, the end of 2022, because of the issue with banking. Just having cannabis in the name, even if you don't touch the plant, even having the FEC paperwork, registration, everything that we submitted to these banks showing we are a political organization. We do not touch the plant. Did not matter. And they would shut your account down, no warning, no email, no phone call, nothing. You just wake up one day and all your accounts are closed. And you call the bank and they give you a bogus excuse as to why they couldn't keep your account open. And my favorite was, oh, we just don't have the capacity to deal with the compliance that's required to bank a cannabis company. And I'm like, how do you don't have the capacity for compliance? You're a bank. You're in the most regulated, like, you're in a highly regulated industry yourself. So how do you not understand or have the capacity to just bank a political organization that just so happens to focus on cannabis policy? So I knew it was just an excuse, and that they just really wanted to say, oh, we don't do cannabis. And I would respect that more than to just blatantly lie and say, we can't handle this. So that was enough for us to say, okay, do we keep the party's name or do we change the name? And then there were other things that were happening behind the scenes that made us realize that there were people that weren't aligned with the purpose truly, and that they weren't who they said they were. And it was not about the plant. It was not about the people. It was not about community. It was not about restoring communities from the irreparable harm that has happened because of the way that this plant was weaponized against specific groups and demographics of people. So that was enough for us to say, okay, we just need to change the name. It doesn't change the mission. It doesn't change the purpose and why we're here. And we've been able to do a lot with a small but mighty team that we have in 3 years. January 26th of this year made 3 years since the party's inception. And Redman announced this during the verses with Method Man. I don't know if people remember that or caught that, but I remember talking to him prior, and him saying, send me, he always says, send me the linguistics. That's what he always says. He's like, send me the lingo so I'll know what to say when I get up there. And, me being the good sister that I am, I just said, I'm okay, I got you. And he gets on there and he pulls out a piece of paper and he starts reading from it, which is truly his style because he does what he wants. And if that's what he's gonna do, that's what he's gonna do. And he read off of that paper telling people about the National Cannabis Party. That is recorded, that is forever solidified in cannabis history, is him announcing this during the verses that he did with Meth, that where they gave us a performance. They gave us a whole show during that verses. So it was so monumental, and It's a milestone I'll never forget. And then later being able to stand on stage at the National Cannabis Festival that year in 2021 with both Red and Meth, and say in front of 20,000 plus people who the National Cannabis Party was, and that I was president and co-founder along with my brother, along with the rest of our team, which Andrew Behringer, Nikedra Cromwell, or Keedy Weedy, as everybody knows her, they were there as well on stage with me. And that's a moment that we'll never forget, because on that day was also the same day that Martin Luther King Jr. gave his I Have a Dream speech. So just the history alone on that day and doing that at that very moment, I knew something bigger was going to come from this. And we have done everything that people said that we couldn't do. I remember being told by someone when I first wrote, when I wrote my first bill that ended up getting introduced in the state of New York, called the Cannabis Community Reinvestment Act. And I remember someone telling me, yeah, you could write the bills or the bill language, but you'll never get credit for it. No one's ever going to give you credit. You're a cannabis party. No one's ever going to put your name on anything to where people know that you had something to do with that. And fast forward to 2022, that following year, February, not only was I able to write that bill and get it sponsored by a state senator, that became an actual bill that will forever be solidified as a New York State Senate bill. And um, it's a possibility. I will keep everyone posted that this bill will be reintroduced with not only a state senator's sponsorship, but a co-sponsor from the New York Assembly. So I'm just here to just tell everyone, no matter what people tell you cannot be done, do it anyway. I don't care if you're scared. I don't care if you're nervous or you feel like it's just way beyond what you have the capability of doing. Do it anyway. Because when someone told me that, I'm the last person you want to tell anyway that they can't do something. Because I'm just one of those people. I'm like, oh, really? All right, bet. I'm going to show you. And so that was so amazing for me and for the team, because not only did that bill get introduced, we had a whole press conference that's on YouTube that was like broadcasted. And that particular uh bill, I was able to stand there with that senator and him even publicly say we are in support of the National Cannabis Party, and that I co-wrote that bill with the senator. And so um because they were able to draft it, because of course, when you write bill language, it has to be drafted in a specific format when it becomes a bill. So being able to stand there with my brother, who also got on that mic and talked about that in a whole tracksuit and a do-rag, like that was that was everything to me, because to me that was representation. You don't get any better than that. And me standing there with my blue afro, that was just everything for me. And so all the little girls and little boys that look like me, I feel, can go back and look at that video and say, wow, if they can do that, I can do that as well. Or any little boy and any little girl for that matter, to say there's not a certain look or aesthetic that gives you permission to do anything. And that's what I wanted people to take away from that, because we are told in so many ways that we don't look the part, we don't dress the part, we don't have enough of X, Y, or Z, and that is so far from the truth. So there's so much purpose built into this movement and this mission, because the cannabis community receives the same type of thing. Oh, stoners, they're not going to be successful, they're lazy, they don't do anything. Like, you could just hear the stigma, just, or you can walk outside and just smell the stigma in the air. Like, it's there even when you're not looking for it. So this is a community that has heard so many things and that has heard so many narratives painted around this plant. So to have a political party that focuses specifically on cannabis and whose ultimate goal and purpose is to deschedule, not reschedule cannabis, and to also make sure that equity empowerment is at the center of all policy and legislation, because we don't call it social equity. We call it equity empowerment, because real equity is empowering people through education, resources, and opportunity to be able to decide for themselves where their space and their place is in this industry and what they want to do, how they want to empower themselves in their communities. It shouldn't just be something that someone makes a program, makes up a definition for what it is, and then it doesn't even exist, or it's not even enforced in any way. In multiple markets, no one has gotten social equity right. And I think the prime reason for that is because no one has a clear definition or even understands what it is. If you ask 100 different people in a room what social equity is, 100 of them are going to give you 100 different answers. And that is not something that is going to make for a good program or initiative if people don't even have a basic understanding of what it is. So for the United Empowerment Party, it is about community, culture, and collaboration, what I like to call the 3 C's. And in this industry, if we don't understand the power of our unity and the power of this plant, then we should see how every single politician has cannabis coming out of their mouth in some way, shape, or form, because they understand that the cannabis vote is important to them. And they understand that they can win if they support cannabis, because we have seen it happen. We have seen the promise, oh, we're going to get it descheduled, oh, we're going to federally legalize, and it doesn't happen. So unless we, the people, exercise our right and our power and remember that we have the power and that the people that we put in that position work for us, because they are put in that position to govern the people and the communities in which they serve. And if they're not there to serve the people with the utmost integrity and the best intentions, they should not be there. If you are not in a community to make it better, you shouldn't be there. And that goes for corporations, that goes for politicians, that goes for anything that's being built and set and established in the community. Because why are you there? If it's not making it better for the people, if it's not improving people's quality of life, why are you there? And that's a question that people should ask anyone that is coming into a community to do anything, whether it's a real estate development, whether it is, like I said, the politicians, if it's a grocery store, whatever the case may be, if it's something that is not there to help the people, to help rebuild the community, and to make the quality of life better for everyone that lives there, what is the purpose? And that's something that I always question when I pay attention to the things that are happening in my community and other people's community, because we can't only care about what happens to us. And I always say, don't wait to care when something happens. Don't be that person that you only care until it's right on your front doorstep, because that happens a lot. And that's where that humbling comes from, because you don't want to be humbled by life. I always say, God, I don't need you to humble me. I'm gonna listen. Like, I don't want no smoke. So I try to give not only what I want to receive, but just understanding that we are all here to be able to make a difference. And if we work together and stop looking at each other as competition, as an industry, we can literally rule. There's so many things that we can do with cannabis. Cannabis is the most complete, like, plant that I've ever seen, just with everything that you can do with cannabis, not just medicinally, but just all the multiple uses of hemp and how it can literally transform and revolutionize entire industries, starting with real estate development and construction. Just what you can do with hemp there, how just growing hemp can help with environmental factors like, the soil being polluted, the air, just removing pollutants out of the air just by growing hemp. These are things that people need to know. And as an industry, we have the power to change things on a massive level in multiple areas. This is the one plant, the one thing that touches everything, literally. So, as a community, we need to change these laws, impact the legislation and policy and the regulations in states. So you need to be talking to your regulators, whatever your governing body is in your state, you need to be engaging them. Civic engagement is extremely important. And that's the whole reason and purpose of creating the United Empowerment Party. So we have an umbrella that we can all stand under, and that we have a platform that we can use to address our issues as a community and as a people, because we have watched this two-party system continue to fail us time and time again. So either we're going to do something about it, or we're going to continue to let things be the way that they are. And I'm done.
I hope you get a bigger stage. There's so many things that I want to say. Um, one, with what you were saying about the two parties. Okay, so I grew up in a household, okay, where my father said, "Look, I don't vote for the particular parties." He said, "I vote on this opposite side," and I was like, "But Dad, neither one of those, that's never going to win." He said, and I quote, "When that number starts to go up and people to a high enough number where other people notice that, 'Oh, I've got another choice,' that's when," he was, "but as long as people believe there's not another choice, there will never be another choice. But if once we get that number to the point of recognition where everybody can realize there's another choice, that's that's where the change can really start." He said, "So I'll be one of those people that says that everybody else is saying, 'I'm throwing away my vote,' but my vote is not being thrown away. It's being put towards a purpose of letting other people know there's more options here." So, but that's just, so I'm with you. Okay, I understand that, what, standing up and being that first one is okay. Being that one that stands up and just says, "Look, I might be on my own right now, but that's just because I might just be the first one." Um, so, all that said, you're down at South by. Okay, one of the things, as you can hear, my kids are running around the rooms now. we,
Oh, we're used to the babies.
we're, I've only got five. Okay, we decided that was enough. Um, but down at South by, one of the things that Mike has been such an advocate in is helping with bringing this to people, to know that this is happening, to know that there is a United Empowerment Party, and we're excited about having y'all on display and bringing these things beyond just the physical realm, right? But into these new, because I do talk about a lot of XR, AR, and AI inside of this room. That's the normal audience here, and so having these things going beyond, you might be one of the first political parties to really step into this stage. And I don't want to say too much about it, Michael. If you want to really open up the door here and expand more on how and what's going on there, but I'm so excited about being a part of this new wave and new revolution that's going to be taking place.
No, absolutely. It's like Safita said, it's civic engagement, right? What is that? How do we go about it? For me, also not a politician, full blown politician though. We support events, right? Uh, when I went through and had to start learning things, what a political action committee is, and what's the purpose of these political parties, and it's to throw parties, right? So, what better place than what's already going on? And it is our responsibility to throw these events, to have these impact activations, and to be able to party. So what better place than with the United Empowerment Party and the presidential election year? right? So South by Southwest, you guys are getting the individuals that are there, individuals that aren't there. The world will be able to experience an activation that's going to put a stamp, a footprint, and on the blockchain, right, on this immutable ledger of understanding that we are here, we have a purpose, and our voice will be heard, right? The reality is there's 110 million registered voters that say yes to cannabis, and how many aren't registered? How many, like myself, feel my voice didn't fucking matter? It's just a two-party system. What, yeah, who gives a shit, right? I can't make a difference, and in that level of the yeah life itself, but through the United Empowerment Party and the empowerment that comes within it, it's how we're able to empower you. So if you're at South by Southwest, you're going to be able to come register to vote, come hang out with individuals of the United Empowerment Party. Who all? Yeah, you'll have to follow in here on Wednesday on What's Up. You'll know a little bit more. Next week, yeah, we'll be leaking a little bit more. And you know how that drip campaign goes. So uh, now you will be able to, if not able physically there, you'll be able to interact and engage on multiple platforms, a very interoperable uh, output from what we're going to be doing for the awareness and edutainment. So um, you'll have many ways to support. We will be having some NFTs being dropped for those that love that to empower the blockchain and fundraising for a political party, which is that the SEC said yay. So let's fucking rock and roll, right? How can we internally empower the communities at these events, South by Southwest? And then I'm going to passive levels of what other events is the UEP doing? Maybe here in April, and Sephida, do you do you know anything on that? But South by Southwest guys, at least dial in on the 12th to the 15th. We've got some amazing activations going on. You can walk with us. You can talk with us. You come find me. I will have some THCA. It's technically THCA until you light it on fire. We will be in Texas. Know where you're at. But Safita, is there anything going on here? I mean, South by Southwest is going to be unbelievable. But is there something going on in April?
Well, Michael, there actually is.
Shit, is it 420 2024 is forward and backwards. So it's got to be epic.
Yes, it's
Okay.
definitely epic. We will be in these cannabis streets, as I always say, in DC for 420 week with the National Cannabis Festival. We're going to be doing a major activation there, and it's going to be headlined and none other than Redman, Wu-Tang, and Thundercat. So for those who know who Thundercat is, my excitement is like through the roof because I love Thundercat. Some of your favorite hip hop artists, Thundercat was very much there and present all throughout their albums. So shout out to him. But yes, it's gonna be totally epic. They're gonna have a whole pavilion for Wu-Tang. So it's gonna be insane. Like this is probably one of the biggest that they'll have. And so I'm just really excited. More announcements are going to be coming over the next several weeks. There's going to be a competition for, who's growing the best in the DMV area, which is super exciting. Shout out to the DMV. And yeah, it's just going to be a very monumental. We're going to be out and about. We're going to be trying to work with other groups that are going to be in DC doing smaller activations, just getting out there and talking to people and getting people's insight on what's happening and how they feel. And, and of course it's DC. So it's kind of like a wild, wild west there too. So be mindful if you're going to be in DC. There's certain parts of DC that's considered federal as far as like you step on federal land and you're smoking or whatever. Like there's a whole thing with that. And so just be mindful. And like Michael says, know where you are and know that, you know, we're pretty bold as a community, but you know, don't get too bold out there because we don't want to have to come bail anybody out. So, but yes, it's gonna be super fun. It's always fun. It's always a vibe with the team because we love to enjoy life. We love to connect with people, and so we want to see you there, and we want to make the impact. And we want to do. We're working on a big letter writing campaign to where we can get letters sent directly to the top individuals that impact descheduling, so where all you have to do is fill in your name and your address and we're going to mail them out. So imagine if we get thousands and thousands of mail going to the White House or going to the Capitol. Like we need to make an impact. We have to amass the numbers in order for us to be respected as a community and industry. We have to show up the same way that Red always talks about the alcohol industry, the tobacco industry, even the sugar industry. They stand together, they work together, they put a lot of money into lobbying. And one thing about cannabis, we can definitely network and throw some parties, but we need to put that money into lobbying efforts. We need to put our influence in a way where we can literally shift things. And that's one of our goals as well, is to be able to put candidates in office and to be able to back the candidate and get them in a seat, because it's not as difficult or challenging as people may think, especially locally, because your local politics matter. And they matter most because that's what impacts you directly. Not just voting when it's time to put a president in office, but voting for who your city council is going to be, who your state senators are, your assembly people, your judges. Like there's so many people who don't even realize that some people get in office by default just because no one's challenging their seat. So make them earn that position and make them earn the privilege of staying in that position, because that's what I feel as a people in this country that we're not doing. We're just putting them in office and walking away as if that's all we have to do. No, we have to hold them accountable, and we have to make sure that they deliver on the promises that they said they would keep. And if not, getting them out of office. So that could be trolling. I know everybody laughs when I say that, but that means, you know, sending a bunch of emails, making a bunch of phone calls, sending a lot of mail. Like, imagine who's going to have to go through all that mail and respond to each and every one of those constituents. Because by law, if you reach out to their office, they have to respond. That's what they are in position for, because they work for you. So we have to make it count. That's the best way I can describe it. We have to make it count. And the way we make it count is showing up in mass numbers. Because if anybody knows historically, every movement has been effective because it was a massive outcry. And it was a massive amount of people that came together and said, enough is enough. And at this point, if we're not saying enough is enough, I don't know what it's going to take. And we shouldn't wait for more of our freedoms to be threatened, to be taken away, or to be taken away for us to decide that it's time to do something. We have the opportunity to do something now.
I stinking love it. And it's the numbers. I love that you're not pushing that like an agenda, but it brings the awareness of together we're better. Better together. That's one of my favorite hashtags, is better together, right? And when we make a stand and we say, look, we are in agreement. It's not just like a small group, but there's an agreement thing happening here, and bringing the accountability to why these people are in the positions they're in. They're there because we believe that that we wanted them to help us, right? So, and making that stand and holding them accountable, I think those are super, super, super important. Uh, One of the things that I really like about all of what's happening here is how, with this new virtual spatial, geospatial, all of these cool, fun tools, right, that we get to have, we can stand united in other ways, right? So we can come together like with this virtual world. And I know the Omniverse City, Charlene, she had to jump off, doing her family thing. Like we all completely understand. But because she's already her metaverse world, her spatial world, is already medically approved. It's approved to hold that type of data. And one of the things that they've offered to help do is create the AI, because they've already created it for doctors, okay, is with the United Empowerment Party, bringing that together so that people can come in and make it easier. They can ask questions, they can learn more, they can vote, they can sign that little box, check that box to say, I agree with this thing, and get it in that more interactive way. Besides just scrolling on the 2D screen of reading information, they can have that AI chatbot there. So the United Empowerment Party, y'all are doing things that are revolutionary beyond what other people really understand. And it's really, really exciting to see. And I'm loving it. I'm all for it. Y'all don't have just one or two events going on this year. Y'all are moving this year. Like, I mean, it's like from day to day and week to week. I see you out in those cannabis streets, as I'm going to start saying, because I love that. I used to say metaverse streets, but you're in the cannabis streets, getting out there and making an impact for change beyond just let's have a party. Your purpose and the why, if anybody was paying attention to the beginning of this space, goes beyond just let's have a party, right? There's a purpose behind what you're doing. As a veteran, I there are certain things that, yes, cannabis, I did use the cannabis to maybe self-medicate, as some people called it, okay? But it did make an impact on my own life, okay? I know many, many others that came back feeling the same kind of way, okay? And there's other people that have issues, whether they be mental, physical, however it may be, that could use the support that this plant does offer. Going into the building and the actual design of physical buildings, the structure of things, right? That's a whole nother level as well. So like you said, the plant itself has from from birth of the seed all the way to the stems and the leaves, there can be a useful use case, right? Not just a made up use case, but an actual use for every part of this plant. None of it goes to waste. And that's really one of the most amazing things. There's very few things that you can take or use in your daily life that don't have as little waste as this plant does. So I'm so glad that you are the advocate and the voice. And I hope you get prepared to be voted in one day to continue on with your voice, because I know you said you're not political, but get ready for it. There's enough people standing behind you now that if you did take a stand and say, hey, you know what? I will sit in front of people. I'm pretty sure you have enough people that would say, I trust her to stand for what she said she's going to stand for.
Thank you. Even though I'm like running from that from like the play. No, I get it all the time. People always say, you're going to be in office, or they're like, you're going to be the next president of the United States. And I'm like, whoa, whoa, whoa. I'm not even trying to be a senator. So it's just really, and honestly, I don't know. I don't know what the future will hold. I don't know what God has planned for me, but he definitely has a sense of humor. And next thing you know, I'm standing in front of the White House. and they'll be trying to get me out of there because the joint will be lit. I'm just saying. But it will be insane to even think about, because I just would never have imagined being in this space. So, like I said, I won't say never, because every time I say I'm never going to do something, it always ends up being the opposite. So, I still haven't learned my lesson apparently in saying that. But if it ever comes a day where that happens, I will be ready to embrace it. But at the moment, I'm like running like Forrest Gump. I'm just being honest. But I will continue to do the work. I will continue to, you know, be a voice. I will continue to push and to fight. And I feel everybody has value. Everybody has something to give to this. So no matter how big or small, because even what people think is small is monumental. So we need everybody. We need all hands on deck. We need people to understand, vote for the people that are really for you. Don't vote off of party affiliation. That's something that we have to stop doing, because so many times people go to the polls and they'll just literally check off whoever is the Democratic candidate or whoever is the Republican candidate. We can't afford to do that anymore. We need to know who we're putting in office. We need to know who we are putting in power to represent us. And if they are a poor representation of the people, they should not be there. And we can put up our own candidates. We can find people right in our community that we know has been doing the work, that are running nonprofit organizations, that are doing food rescue, where they go to grocery stores and get food that's going to end up in the garbage to go and feed people who can't afford groceries. Like, these are people that I feel would do a better job in office, because they understand and connect with the human experience that so many people are going through, that are experiencing poverty and that have a lack of resources, and that may not be able to get those resources because of the situation that they're in. So I love and respect the people that are on the ground doing the work, that should be in those positions, that deserve to be in that spot, because they're actually going to make a difference and do something in their community to transform it. And that's what it's about. So if we have to be that catalyst for change, and we have to be the ones to light the fire under these people, and to start that, then that's what it's going to be, because we all have a part to play in this, whether we do something about it or not. Even not doing anything, you're playing your part. You've made your decision in what role you're going to play. So however it plays out is based off of what you choose to do and what you choose not to do. And that's what we want people to understand. So we're here. We're not going anywhere. We are here for the people. We are here for the change. And we're here to shake some things up. It's going to ruffle some feathers. It's going to make some people upset. That's what comes with the territory. That is something that I can't promise people, that you're not going to face or meet opposition. You will. It may come from people that you are close to, that you think are for your mission, and they're really there to sabotage it. That's the reality. We see it in politics all the time. So be mindful, be aware, and just know that every time you walk out the door, you are representing yourself, not just the people that you are speaking for. So always make sure you show up. In this industry, we have to show up everywhere. Show up like we're supposed to, and being professional and poised and speaking in a manner in which we know not only will they understand, but they will have no choice but to respect us and to respect what we are saying, because they bank on people living up to the stigma. And we can't give them that. You don't give the people the bullets to shoot you. That's what I always say. So if we understand that, and we move as a unit, and we move in a way to where they have no choice but to respect our movement and what we are looking to accomplish, they will have no other option, because we'll have the numbers to back it. And once we have the numbers where we can swing elections, and we can literally shift it in any direction that we want to, because we have the numbers, then it's going to wake everybody up.
I need the soundboard just so I can be like, just the clapping and the applause and the standing. If we, yeah, I am sure that if you were given a podium in front of a group of people, there would be, it wouldn't be quiet, right? It would be quiet while you speak, and then like halfway through, you'd hear people just like, just screaming, cheering. So you are a powerhouse of a person if I ever met one. Okay. And yeah, I'm the more I get to hear you and the more I get to know about you, uh, the more I'm glad that I even had the opportunity to speak to you at these times. I do want to welcome DJ Jagman, who came up on the stage. We are coming up towards like the 2 hour mark of this space, and I kind of want to open it up. So if anybody does have questions for She's So Brooklyn or Sephida, if anybody just wants to come up and say, hey, you know what, thank you for doing what you're doing, or, you know, just voice your opinion, be polite, be respectful of everybody that is on the stage. If we do have to remove you, we'll just like take you right off the stage. I trust my co-host to kind of handle certain things. Okay. But I do want to welcome, I see we got Extreme and we got Jagman. Welcome, Jagman. You were the first one up here. How's it going? Welcome up here. You know, my man, how you been?
I'm good, man. Just kind of getting around, doing my thing. I'm cutting my nails. You know what it is. Just got to take care of yourself. Make sure that you're always, practicing good hygiene. No one wants to smell that nasty ass. No, I'm just kidding. But for real though, I hope everybody's doing good today. Just vibing. I'm kind of preparing for a gig today. I got a 16-year-old birthday party at their house, so just kind of getting ready for that. And yeah, just here to have some fun and just live life to the fullest, the best we can. I did like what she was saying over there, and it's some good shit. So big up to you. She's So Brooklyn. Nice to meet you. I'm DJ Jagman, and just gonna chill a little quick space. You don't mind, right, Hexadized? You're part of it, so.
you got 2 minutes. Go
All right.
Go for it.
Real quick, on Monday, I am hosting a space. You can go to my Twitter profile. It is the pinned post. Please come check it out. We're going to be bringing collectives, creators, founders of projects, anybody that's creating in Web3. We're going to give them the time and space to talk about themselves as deep as they want, talk about their project, talk about their ideas, what they're excited for, and also what they're looking forward to here coming up in the near future with Web3 changing and all the new stuff that's happening. There's a lot to talk about, and there's a lot of creatives that are doing a lot of big shit. So I just want to kind of get them out there, put them in the spotlight, and give them the time that they deserve to really talk about what they're bullish on, and then also what they've been hard at work with. I forgot to say the time. It is at 12:30 Central, if you can tune in, and it is a recorded space, so you will be able to listen back and get some of the good info that the founders and artists are talking about.
Awesome. Thank you, Jagman, for doing what you do. I know you are a community-minded person, which is one of the reasons that I let you come up on stage, even if you are clipping your nails while you're speaking. But that's cool. Much love as always, and I love what you're doing for the metaverse community, the virtual community, and bringing people together. Welcome, Extreme, Terps Wellness, and Crypto Cam. Extreme, you were up first, so go for it. You got a couple minutes, and then we're gonna go to Crypto Cam.
Peace, everyone. How y'all doing? It's always amazing hearing Sephida tell her story and also talk about the United Empowerment Party. I just want to introduce myself. My name is D-Rock. My name is Darmedrick Palmer, better known as D-Rock. I am the first CBD company here in Maryland. I am also the chair of United Empowerment Party of Maryland, and also has been an advocate and been in the industry for over 10 years. Been to the High Times Cups, been to different groves. And what I fell in love with this plant was the unification, seeing all different ethnicities coming together for this plant. I also got hit by a car, knocked 20 feet in the air off a pedal bike, totaled the windshield of a car. So um, I'm native to Baltimore, so I've been using cannabis since I was 15. But that's when I realized the benefits of cannabis when I had that car accident with my back spasms and muscle convulsions. Um, Ever since, I couldn't get any information about cannabis at all. So I started to travel to California, going to different events. And once I found out about the endocannabinoid system within our bodies, it was a game changer. That's when I wanted to actually bring that information to the East Coast. I'm just shortening my story, making it real short, but just understand that this plant is a medicine. It is not a drug and never was a drug. Just understand that all of this was by design up until this point for them to take over a plant that has been helping different families for generations, right? And then also just understand that this plant has brought a lot of us together from all different aspects. So we have to protect this plant, take the handcuffs off these plants, and continue the unification, starting with cannabis, to make things better in this world. So I'm gonna drop it at that, and I'm gonna continue to listen. Peace.
Thank you, D-Rock.
Yo, that is a story if I ever heard one. Crypto Cam, what you got, man?
What's good? Peace and love to everybody. Just wanted to come up. Um, just and I love hearing her speak and share her story. Uh, Man, I'm over here just behind this, and like a lot of people just don't know. And then when she actually shares, like, how she came to be where she's standing right now, and the truth and the reality of the situation, and the gravity of it, really can embrace her passion, and anyone who is listening, you know, without a doubt, you can understand that she is 100% genuine, you know, and I know she doesn't want to sit again. She's not in politics, but girl, listen, you keep more, you know what I'm saying? I'm just so much. So I just come up on stage and just, give you hours.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Cam.
I know Extreme Cam. Yeah, I'm sure that I know Extreme. You said you shortened your story, and I'm sure that you could have like I do. It's not you could have. I want to hear more of your story. I know that like I want, and so if you would, you'll come back. We do hold more spaces. We're here every Tuesday. I'm on LinkedIn on Wednesdays, but we're right here at the same time every Saturday.
Of
So if
course.
you ever wanted to hear your story, by all means, we do run. This is, as Michael knows, this is a very open room. That's usually why we don't have like a million people in here, because we don't have a certain agenda. It's all about growing and learning and getting together. Just as much fun as it is to just have a good time, it's to support each other and go through all this as we learn.
Of course. Mike and Sephida is family. We work in the background, so I'm definitely going to show up a lot more. Speak my, talk about my story, and also just have everyone understand that the stories is what change lives, right? So the more that we express our stories and communicate, I think things can change.
Yeah, that's go for it, Sophia.
You want to say hi? Say hi.
Oh, that's Kanza.
Say hello. Now you want to be shy? You was making all this noise. Mwah. Yeah, she wanted to say hello. So, little princess, that this is all about. She just had to come on here. This is what she does.
Hey, Kanza.
Say hi.
Hello. Love
Oh,
it.
she's
This is
playing.
I love
I'm
these
just
thoughts.
playing coy as all get out. She normally be
Oh, she
thinking and
is,
shit.
Michael. She
Exactly.
be
Right. She
She
now.
be
definitely is
telling.
Now,
not shy.
She knows what's going on. Don't you
listen.
guys don't let her fool you down there listening. She knows what it. She knows you're there, right?
Exactly. She runs the house. I just live here. I just thought I'd let everybody know that.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
But yeah,
that's what it
D-Rock,
is.
we got some plenty of stage time. We'll have to see what we can spring you from Maryland down to Austin for some South by Southwest action, and yeah, we'll really shake some trees.
Oh, of course. You already know how we move. Of course. The more people, the merrier. The bigger the voice.
And with that South by Southwest action, guys, you might want to follow some people. We've got some NFTs I mentioned earlier about fundraising aspects and things that are going on. So we have lots of events. So if you're interested in being one of those special guests to attend the rally on the 418 up in DC. 419, there's some big activations. 420 is big old event. If you didn't hear about what it was, jump back, listen to the replay. You might hear some things that will encourage you to get involved a little bit. So we will be opening those up for the community, right? It's to empower all those within and to voice without any discrimination levels. It's just so much easier when it's for a great time, for a great purpose, and you got killer cannabis, be it referred to as THCA or not. But
It's one plant.
it's one plant.
I love it. I love it. I do have to, because we are still broadcasting across Metaverse Radio, and I want to respect all the support that they have given us for so long by giving us this channel and by picking us up and every week, and by sharing us out and letting all the voices in here be heard around the globe on Metaverse Radio, so that anyone on their smart device can tap in and say, hey, Alexa, hey, Google, play Metaverse Radio. I know we do have listeners that tap in from all over Asia, Germany, Russia. Like we have listeners everywhere every week. And so thank you, Metaverse Radio, for giving us this time slot and being so open and working with us every week and being so consistent and supporting us. That said, I do need to give them their airplay back. So thank you, Extreme, because you sound like you are extreme in doing what you're doing. D-Rock, I hope you do come back and share your story. Sephida, you really, it takes a lot for somebody to get me speechless and like really get my brain to not function inside these spots, these shows. I've worked with all kinds like I get, when you do the Twitter spaces, you get the people that come up here and they say some awful, just off the wall stuff, and I'm usually pretty good about being able to keep things straight. But your story, and I hope that everyone that missed your story goes back and listens to the recording and understands the why and the purpose of why you're doing what you're doing, because it's not, I mean, it is the why. That is the why. And so thank you so much for sharing that with us this week and being a part of this whole being united, just being united, and that being the purpose, not standing on somebody else's shoulders, but doing what you are called to do and taking that calling and accepting it and owning that. I'm a huge believer myself, and understanding that the testimony, like D-Rock said, sharing that story, that testimony, and standing firm on this is your story and you're a part of it. And so thank you for allowing us to be a part of that story now and hearing it. So Michael, you're amazing. I feel like everybody came up here and was like, "Oh, Michael, And so, thank you for doing what and being that glue behind the scenes and not needing your name on everything, but obviously being the Kevin Bacon of all of these stories, where it's like, at some point in time, it all comes. You get 2 or 3 people down the line, Michael's in there. So this has been an amazing space. Thank you, everybody. I will give you all the last goodbyes before we just disappear. If anybody wants to say goodbye or say anything, we'll go right down the line with D-Rock, Sephida, Honeycomb, just in that order, and then we'll close it out.
Okay, I guess I'll go first. Thank you, everybody. I appreciate you allowing the space for me to share, being a safe space for me to share. And I appreciate every single one of you. Definitely connect with us. I am at Shiso Brooklyn on Twitter and Instagram. Our website is www.unitedempowermentparty.org. And I just encourage everyone to rock with me. I have 4 years to find a solution for transplant patients. I've been actively working on this, and my timeline is 4 more years because I was told that in 10 years from the date my daughter was transplanted, she could possibly need another organ. So I'm on a mission to find a solution in this plant to where no transplant patient ever has to take any more anti-rejection medication. So help me find a solution, and whatever resources that you can connect me to, doctors, scientists, I am open because I have 4 years left. So that's all I want to say.
She always kills the mic. I just want to say I appreciate everybody for coming on and listening. Go support United Empowerment Party. We're making a lot of changes. Feel free to reach out to us if you have any questions or concerns. And we'll definitely reach back out to you to figure out how we can unite. It's always about the front line. It's all about the community people making the change, and we need all of you guys to continue the effort for this change to happen. And smoke up.
Oh yeah, no, and I feel you. I was like, man, I hope she has Sephida close it out because
I'm with you.
right. And he put that order in, and I'm like, what kind of order in? Then you fucking missed out. That's how it goes. That's how it goes. But yeah, Hex, thanks for throwing the space. Everybody jumping in and listening. Najiba, Crypto, you guys were yeah, you were engaged in levels, so I could feel the impact. Everyone else as well, but yeah, just they were hitting them emojis, man. It touched home. Um, if you like Hex said, if you missed Sephida's story, I think it jump. Who knows? Go start at the beginning. It may be around the 15-minute mark, but yeah, so you get to hear. You missed a lot if you didn't catch the beginning, and it's okay. You'll get to hear about it more and then be a part of it. So, uh, you want to get involved, reach out. It's like D Rock said, you go to the website. You guys, anybody in listening going to be at South by Southwest or want to get involved in some of the events that we've got going on specific activations to empower you and your community. That's the point of what we do. It's to raise that awareness, to be that one voice, and in my purpose, we got to plant as much cannabis as possible globally. To do that, we have to change things locally. We want deschedules the purpose, rights and freedoms. Now understand about land rights and certain things of it. It's okay. I didn't before either. Didn't even give a shit. Now I've learned of things of what's been stripped away and, in the unfortunate world we live in. So to lean all of the politicians, all the political movers, shakers are talking about the plant and don't know a fucking thing about it. I'm here to educate them, right, at levels of where it can be, through these activations or Chuck Norris throat punch, right in the face, and it just I don't know. We've got to have our voices sound. We're here to play nice at levels. We get involved this plant, educate on it. It makes the navigation amazing, but it takes the community to keep the momentum, but to pierce. We're not here just to bounce off of the bullshit armor. We're here to impact that change and actually empower those individuals that need it. And it's through the voices of those that feel the same way. So, uh, as always, Hex, thank you. And then, yeah, I'll drop that mic.
Mic drop. I was about to say mic drop.
Like everybody said, follow everybody in here. Make sure you definitely stay up to date with the 3 people that are sitting next to me that are holding mics right now, because these are the people that are making that change. I just get to be the guy that opens a spot and allows people like this to make that change. So that said, shout out to everybody that did tune in. Thank you, Metaverse Radio, again, for allowing us to have this spot to go global and to reach an audience that we don't even see. And for the playback, I love you all so much. Your stories are amazing, engaging, all the fluff I could give you, but it's not enough. Go be the change. That's really all it is. I'm going to close this space just like I do every space, where I might be in the middle of a sentence and it just disappears, or I might say goodbye. Who knows? It's lunchtime for me. Go grab that lunch. Go with your families. Enjoy your weekends. Touch some grass. All that fun jazz. I will